My name's Scott Miller. I'm a lifelong member of Trinity English. I'm a retired medical doctor. I was baptized here. I'm not going to tell you how many years ago it was, but I'm approaching 70 very rapidly. Trinity was a major part of my life growing up. My mother was raised coming to Trinity. Her parents belonged here. My parents, we got our church clothes on. Usually in my case, I was the third of five, so I wore hand-me-downs for my two older brothers. That was my sport coat and tie and pants and everything like that. I had probably 30 to 35 kids in my confirmation class. The youth choir was huge. They'd fill an entire side balcony. Sunday afternoons, Luther League would meet, and there'd be kids. My only exposure to kids from other high schools was at Luther League, because we had kids from all over town that would come in, and they'd have live bands in there and all that kind of stuff. And so it was a hot ticket. We did a lot of things that I think the powers that be and the higher ups in the church did not know about. But it exposed the youth group, which at that time was very large, to a side of things in town that I did not know existed, because I didn't live in the suburbs, but it was, we had no mixed race children at Harrison Hill and very few at Southside. So it did expose me to another side of the world that existed. In 1968, 69, South Side of Chicago had the riots. Arnie took us up there, and once again, I don't know that he passed this by the higher ups in the church, but we drove up there on a Friday evening, went to the Chicago Theological Seminary, had sessions with the seminary students that evening. All of them had long hair and full beards. If you could project what a perfect world would be like with social outreach and that sort of thing, they conveyed that to us, and it was a very emotional experience. Saturday morning, we got up and all piled into these cars, 10 white kids from some in the suburbs, but nobody lived in an impoverished neighborhood. And we walked into this old, massive theater in South Chicago. All the surrounding blocks were wiped out from the fires and the bombings and the unrest there, and walked into this huge movie palace filled with a couple thousand locals, i.e. we were the only white people in the whole place. Walked into the room, Roberta Flack was on the stage playing, whoa. And then after she's done, Jesse Jackson walks up with Operation Breadbasket and starts sermonizing and getting the crowd all pumped up. And the people, Arnie included, would march up to the stage where Jesse was and put his money into the basket. And then we drove back to Fort Wayne. But like I've told you before, when we were going back, I was convinced that we could solve the world's problems. And that's one of our missions here, is to provide that. This is a place where people can come into and it's safe. Our lives are so much busier now than they ever were when I was growing up. Devices, television, and they aren't interacting with humans one-on-one. I think there's a lot of loneliness out there, and that breeds depression and other mental health issues. And a lot of people are running alone. And then with the lockdowns and the masking and facilities are shut down or restricted, people are lonely. And who do you turn to? Church is a good place to turn, but a lot of people aren't grounded. I'm fearful, but I could see that I see a lot of good out there. I am encouraged to see the youth program kind of getting a new life here. And I think that a lot of the programs that we're developing and presenting to the general public and members and all that, I think those are going in the right direction. My situation right now is Trinity's the top of the list for me as far as giving and that sort of thing. And I think that when you consider the mission of the church now, the outreach, the open door policy, everyone is welcome, it's money well spent. I don't think I could say it any more succinctly than that.